Hello and welcome to the 2020 Caspar Employee Benefits webinar. Over the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to walk through all of the different coverages that are available to you. And before we do that, we're going to talk about how to make our choices. So just like last year, you'll go to this website right here at the bottom of page 1. Let me see if I can highlight it. There we go. You're going to go here. Remember, you've got some instructions for your username and password, and please do that before the end of open enrollment. Now, considering it is open enrollment, we're going to be going over all of these plans, and we are going to talk about when we can make a change during the middle of the year. So take a look at these different bullet points. These let us know that we can make one of these changes during the middle of the year if one of these things happens. And so in general, what you pick sticks for 1 year unless you have one of these things going on in the middle of the year. Now, where we'll spend the most amount of time today is on the medical portion. It's the most expensive. It's also the most complicated. So some of this is just going to be a reminder because we have not changed any of the providers that we have used from last year. So let's talk about that. When you go to the doctor, that is a Galaxy professional only PPO network. That's the network that you use to go to the doctor. www.galaxyhealth.net. You can find a doctor, search by zip code or specialty, but those are all in the Galaxy network. So when you look for a doctor, look inside the Galaxy network. Now, when you go to a facility or a hospital, we've got two different ways that you can do that. You can go to one of our many safe harbor hospitals. We'll talk about those in just a minute. Those are where they discount the rates for the company, and you, the employee, get to go to those hospitals, and it's $0. So depending on where the hospital is, and if we have a direct contract, you could actually end up going to the hospital if you needed to for free, which is a really big deal on this plan. Now, you can go anywhere you want. There are just these direct contracts that we have in place where you can go for free. Now, if you get something called a balance bill, that means there is an argument between what we have said, what the prices that we've said in our plan documents. That's a big, thick rule book where we tell the hospitals what we believe is fair and reasonable for all sorts of different things. Now, if the doctor sets a price tag above what we think is fair and reasonable, you may get a balance bill that shows up on your doorstep. If you do, I want to make sure that the medical helpline at a company called Entrust is contacted to be able to work through that bill. So if you get a bill and it's confusing, what you simply just have to remember is call this number. Now, on this page, we'll talk about the cost. So over the past several years, we've remained with Entrust. They've done a good job for us, and they've allowed us to establish a lot of these direct contracts where folks can go for free. But what has happened specifically over the past 12 months is the amount of claims that we've had on the plan have pretty drastically outweighed the money that we're putting in. So the money going out the door is a lot higher than the money coming in the door. So we had to adjust rates this year. We don't like to do that very often. We have not done that very often over the past, 4 or 5 years. It's been pretty mild, but we had to do that this year to maintain the long-term stability of the plan. So the prices you'll see for 2020 will be different than the prices you saw for 2019, but we always walk the executive team through a pretty careful planning process to get to the right number that's fair to the employee and fair to the company. So these are the price tags that will come out bi-weekly from your paycheck. Now, there's going to be a lot of information on these next couple pages, so let's not make it more confusing than it necessarily needs to be. You've got the same 3 plans, the same 3 benefit plans that you had last year. The least expensive plan is the Obama plan. The least expensive plan has the highest deductible, meaning if you go into a non-direct harbor facility, then you're responsible for this deductible on an individual basis. There are no copays on this plan or anything like that when you go to the doctor. Somebody would want this plan, quite frankly, if they just wanted to protect themselves against something catastrophic happening, but they really didn't use it at all throughout the year. It's the least expensive plan, but it also has the least amount of protection. Preventative care, you can actually click on this link right here and it'll take you to all the things that are baked into this plan that are free to you. Everything else that you do on this plan goes to satisfy this $6,600 annual deductible. So that's the same plan that we had last year. We would consider that our base plan. Now, we've got two other options. Those haven't changed either. The Kaspar plan is the middle option. It has a $1,500 deductible. And then as you can see, when you go to one of the Galaxy doctors, you're paying a copay. And then depending on what it is, when you see covered at 80%, covered at 80%. So for example, if you went to an urgent care facility that has nothing to do with one of our direct contract facilities, then you would first meet your deductible here. And then after you meet your deductible, you're paying 20 cents and insurance is paying 80 cents after you meet your deductible. But that would be at a non-direct contract or non-safe harbor hospital. And so again, we're going to be talking about this a lot. Direct agreement facilities. So they're all over the place. We'll talk about that in a little bit. All of these other things are different plan features that we like to list out. And we're not going to go into those for the sake of time today, but contact us or HR if you have any specific questions on those. The copays for drugs are here. Those did not change from last year, $20 for generics. And then depending on the type of brand name, it could either be $40 or $80. Now, there's a buy-up option. So this is the third out of 3 plan designs. It has the lowest amount of deductible that can be offered, and the copays for doctors are a little lower. All of this other stuff that I'm scrolling through is the same as it was on the middle option. You meet your deductible first, then you pay 20 cents on the dollar afterwards, depending on what it is. The plan picks up 80% after the deductible. And then the copays for generic drugs are a little lower on the most expensive option. Now, we've talked about this a lot. These are our direct contracts. They're all over the place. Gonzalez, Yoakum, Citizens, Christa Spahn, Mays Cancer Center or MD Anderson in San Antonio, Yoakum, St. Mark's in LaGrange, Methodist in Houston, Lavaca Medical in Hallettsville. So again, if you are going to one of these facilities have agreed for our plan to give us certain price breaks. And so because they're giving us price breaks, that means that you get to go to one of those hospitals at no cost to you. Now, here's the disclaimer. Anytime any one of us, direct contract facility or not, walks into a hospital, not everybody who treats you is actually employed by that hospital. That's where it gets a little wonky. So for example, the anesthesiologist. The anesthesiologist is kind of like an independent contractor. They don't necessarily work. They may not work for the hospital that you walk into. So you may get a bill from one of those subcontractor providers like an anesthesiologist, radiologist, pathologist, doctors like that. That may be a bill that goes towards your deductible even at one of the safe harbor facilities, because we contract with the hospital, but the hospital subcontracts out for different services. And usually where we see that happen is for anesthesia, radiology or pathology or things like that. So that happens regardless of where you step into at hospitals all over the place. So just want you to be aware that that dynamic does exist. This is a brief slide just to remind you really to stay away from an emergency room. Depending on where you are in Texas and around the country, there are freestanding emergency rooms popping up all over the place. That is an emergency room outside of a hospital. And there's going to be a lot bigger bill if you go to a freestanding emergency room rather than an urgent care provider. Now, one of the things that I mentioned a couple minutes ago in regards to a subcontractor in a hospital, a lot of times they might send you to get some radiology services. So anybody ever got an X-ray, PET scan, MRI? Depending on where they send you, that could be a big old bill. And so if you need an X-ray, MRI, or PET scan, I just want you to remember to say, before I go anywhere, I want to check green imaging right here because the costs through green imaging are vastly different than what you're going to see anyplace else. We can do a lot better than these price tags listed. This is just a generic slide for PET scans, MRIs, X-rays, things like that. And so I just want you to remember, if you do need an X-ray or any type of imaging that would be considered a radiology service, Green Imaging is our provider that we're using, and they've got places all over the map. You can see all the different green dots. So really, a lot of what we're doing on this plan is we don't want to sacrifice the quality of care, but we do want to give people options to know where to go to reduce the price tag. So we don't want to sacrifice quality, but we do want to give you options to reduce the price tag. Southern Scripts manages our drugs. They are our pharmacy benefit manager, or PBM. And I won't drag you through all the detail on this page, but they're the ones who manage how much our drugs cost, and acquiring the needed prescriptions. Now, this variable copay program works just like this. If there's a coupon available, then if you get your drug through the mail, then we're actually not going to charge you anything for that drug, because we're going to access an already existing coupon called a manufacturer's rebate instead of you paying for it. It's cheaper for you. It's cheaper for the plan. So this variable copay program is not new. We put it in 1 or 2 years ago. And so the doctor or pharmacist will likely say something like this: if the variable copay is available for the drug, check this out: variable copay opportunity available, please call 800-710-9341. So that doesn't mean that you can't get the drug. It just means we want to get it to you on a different chassis. And we're doing a lot of that. So like Green Imaging, we don't want you to not get the X-ray. We just want you to get it on a different chassis. Hospitals, we don't want you to not go to the hospital if you need to be there. We just want you to go to one that has good price tags. That's the same thing that we're doing with this variable copay program. And again, that's not a new thing. Okay, let's talk about your life, your teeth, your eyes, and then we'll be done. So basic life, freebie to you. You'll go online and you'll get $15,000 of basic life coverage. When you appoint your beneficiary, that's a fancy term that says the money's got to go somewhere if you are no longer living. So it can be anybody you want, but you just need to make sure that you have one. I also like this feature, Will Prep Services. Check it out. Go to that link, willprepservices.com, and get it done for free. So really good idea to do that. Or you could spend a couple $100s on getting your will prepped, not for free, but I like free stuff, so check that out. Okay, voluntary supplemental benefit plans. What the heck are these? If you had one of those Allstate plans last year, like a cancer plan or an accident plan, we're changing the insurance carrier from Allstate to MetLife. So here's what I want you to know. If you had one of those plans, take a look down here in highlighted font. If you're currently enrolled in Allstate, those plans will terminate as of February 29th, 2020. That's when the plan ends. If that happens, you'll get information in the mail. You can continue that Allstate coverage, no problem. That's just going to be a payment between you and Allstate. We're not going to payroll deduct for that, because that contract will be between you and Allstate. Whereas if you want to drop Allstate and hop on MetLife for something like accident insurance or critical illness, heart attack, stroke, things like that, then you're absolutely free to do so. I want you to check the price tags, because depending on how long you had that Allstate plan and what you signed up for, some folks will get a better deal on MetLife, some won't. So I just want you to be aware so that you make a good buying decision. And HR will have that information. And if we, in our office here at Catto, we're insurance nerds, so we can weigh in and help get you the right information if you have questions on that. Okay, let's talk about your teeth. It's still with MetLife. There are two different plans, a low plan and the high plan. The basic difference between the low and the high is what is covered and what is not. So no orthodontia on the low plan, no major services on the low plan. Both of these plans give you $1,000 a year per mouth. So if you've got 3 kids and 1 wife, that's $1,000 to you, $1,000 to the missus, and $1,000 to each kiddo. Preventative services, those are your twice a year teeth cleanings and x-rays associated with that. Those are freebies. It's covered under the cost of the plan. But if you've got a cavity and the cavity costs $200, you're going to walk in, you're going to pay your $50 deductible on both plans, and a $200 bill minus $50 is a $150 bill. And if it's a cavity, it'll be 20% after deductible, which means you're paying 20%, which means 20% of $150 is $30. Insurance pays the $120, which is 80% of a $150 bill, and you're paying $30 or 20% of that $150 bill. So that's the way that it works. You get $1,000 that MetLife throws at your mouth per year, and these are the premiums. They didn't change very much, if at all, from last year. So no rate action there that would cause anxiety. MetLife is still our vision carrier. The thing that confuses people the most on anything vision related is this part. That means you can't get glasses and contacts at the same time paid for by insurance. It means you either go in and you say, I want some cool guy or cool girl frames, get $120 spotted to you for that. And then lenses are on a $0 copay. That's pretty cool. Unless you're as blind as me, I've got like negative 6.5 eyesight. I'm not getting out for a copay because I choose to do progressives, coatings, all of this stuff. I shrink the lenses down. And so I'm not getting out for a copay. So it really depends on how good or bad your eyesight is. So you can either do frames and lenses or contact lenses. So my example is I just went and I got some new contacts. Thank you very much. My contacts cost $200. My insurance gave me $120. I came out of pocket for $80. That's what happened with me. Rates are here, didn't change very much. Network providers are listed down here. These next 2 things are just reminders. Travel assist, if you're traveling 100 miles or more away from home and you lose your bags or your passport, you got a number that can help you retrieve it right there. One that I think is more likely, unfortunately, to be used is some identity theft help. My mom has gotten her identity stolen 3 different times. And so through Mutual of Omaha, you're going to have some support if, God forbid, that happens, because it is a mess. Just got to remember what this number is. Plug it into your phone as call if identity theft happens. The rest of this information is great late night reading material that we are not going to cover for the sake of time today. You can read that at your leisure. All sorts of different required notices. Now, the page that I'm going to pause on is coming up here towards the end. Enroll or terminate individuals or dependents on any of the coverages, make changes. All of this goes into effect March 1st. It's open enrollment. Forms must be completed by February 14th, Valentine's Day. Forms will be distributed during the enrollment meetings or sent to you if you're in a satellite location. Call Trisha or call us. Our firm is Catto&Catto. We're the insurance nerds behind the scenes. And Polly loves problems. She's in our office and loves to help people figure stuff out. We have a very good working relationship with Kaspar, have for a number of years. So we're a service provider, and it's our job to make sure that all this stuff works. Glossary of terms, just because it's so interesting. More information on University Health System. That is a direct contract in San Antonio and with a bunch of different locations for a bunch of different things. So we like that. Mays Cancer Center is trained by and has the same exact protocols as MD Anderson in Houston. It is an MD Anderson facility, but it just happens to be in San Antonio. So same protocol, same training. It's just in a different location in San Antonio. This is a direct contract, and you can go there for free. Okay. Thanks, everybody, and have a great 2020. Bye now.